Alright, so this is for the second part of the multimedia class assignment, the project that's the interactive narrative. So what we're going to do is you're just going to open up Adobe Animate, and we're going to use HTML5 Canvas. Okay, here it is. First thing we should always do is determine our size. So I'm just going to go to width over here. I have nothing selected. Go to width, and we're going to do 960, or actually let's do 1280 by 540. 540. Okay, and I'm just going to hold space bar, go like this, and, or not 540, sorry, 720. I don't know why I did 540. And I'll back this thing up. You can do Control minus and plus. We'll zoom it out. You can also go over here. So it's going to 50%. I don't really like that. It's not really doing it. Let's try 75. Yeah, 75 is roughly, yeah, that just fits. Actually, I can pull this down a little. There we go. Okay. So we have this. Now we're going to be doing 3 panels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw those panels first. I'm going to use the rectangle tool here. Okay. And right now, if I draw, you'll see it's going to be a white inside with a white fill with a black stroke, which is determined by these two. I want no fill, so I'm going to click in here. Okay, so it makes it transparent. Now again, it's going to be this black line. You can see it here. What I would like is for it to, I mean, you might want this. Maybe you want like a nice clean border. But if you don't, you can click on the brush library button here, and then you can choose a brush that works for you. So there's all sorts of ones here. You know, you just got to kind of play around with them and see if you find one that you like. Let's go with this one. And then I'll just exit out of that. You can see it showed up right here. I can change my thickness by using this little slider, or if you use your bracket keys, like to the right of P, just like in Photoshop, that will change the brush size. Okay, so obviously if I make it smaller, it'll be thinner, and if I make it bigger, it'll be bigger. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw one like that, and that looks okay. And I'm going to back this thing up. Oops, back this up. All right, so there's one kind of panel. Now what I'm going to do is, for whatever reason, it's drawing it like in object mode, which is that thing where if I take this and I overlap it with another one, they will not intersect. It's almost like Illustrator. That's actually not what I want, because it won't allow me to paint properly that way. So we need to, what we call, break this apart. So if you accidentally draw something, and it's weird, it's grayed out. I don't understand what's going on with this. But if you accidentally draw something in, like, you know, the object mode, and you don't want it like that anymore, all you got to do is just go to Modify, Break Apart, and then it will convert it back to the normal, you know, this mode where it's not a primitive. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm just gonna grab it, Modify, Break Apart, or Control B. Okay, now it's like a normal stroke. Now I'm gonna take this and I want to duplicate it, so I'm just gonna click and drag over it. Got the whole thing. You can do this a couple of ways. I'm going to show you one way I think is a little bit better. If I hold Alt or Option on a Mac, you click and see it's already kind of it comes out. It'll duplicate it. Now if I hold Shift, it will snap, and now I can just pull it over to the right. Okay, so now I got 2 of them. Now I can do that again, or you can just do the other way you're probably used to, which is Control C, Control V, which will paste it. But now I got to try and match this up by eyeball, which is a little bit more difficult, but you can do it either way, whatever works for you. So this will be panel 1, 2, and 3. Now what I need to do is fix these. So I'm only going to concentrate on the one, but you would just repeat this step for the other one. So I'm going to take this guy here, and we're just going to convert it to a symbol, all right, so that it's all nicely contained. And we're going to nest symbols inside of this one. But basically our first scene will all exist inside just this one thing, and then these will each have a separate one, and then they'll all just be on the stage at the most highest part of the scene. So I got it selected. I'm just going to modify, convert to symbol, and we're just going to call it panel 01. Okay, good. And you would just select this one, do the same thing, and select this one. I'll just do it real quick. Now this time I'm just going to hit F8, because if you look, you can see all the hotkeys for things here. And it's F8, okay, so, and let's call this panel 02, and I'm just going to go over here and hit F8, and this one will be panel 03, all right, good. And if you look over here in my library, you can see that each one of these panels are now stored in there. Okay, so even if I took this guy and deleted it, I can still just grab this one and plop it right in there. Okay, so I'm going to do that so I don't lose my position, but that's how that works. All right, so now I've got this panel, but what's going to happen is you're going to have like an object or something, right? So let's just say I have this picture. You'll notice that you can see it on the outside here. So I actually want to make this like a white border so that when stuff's behind it, you can't see it. All right, so let me just quickly color this something like green. Okay, so but see how you can see through it. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to turn this off for a second. Back on this one. I'm just going to basically draw a big box and paint white inside of it. Okay, so I'm going to take this, the rectangle tool again, and just make it, oops, hang on a second. We've got to make it back to transparent here. Make it really big so it's like that. Now, it's got the same problem again. For whatever reason, I think stuck on that. It's in object mode, so I'm just going to hit Control B. Again, it's modify, break apart. Now, I'm going to use the fill, change this to white, and paint in there. Okay. Now, it might be hard to see that that actually worked, but if I were to move this, you'll see it's see-through. It's a frame. Okay. Also, now, if I had that imaginary object, you can see it in this box, but basically it's like a window that we're looking through. Okay, it makes it a little bit cleaner. That's the purpose of it, anyway. So, all right, let's just go ahead and delete this. I don't need this. Delete layers. All right, and I'm going to rename this one. I'm just going to call it panel. Okay, just so that I know what it is. And I'm going to go ahead and take this, and we will let's just convert it to a symbol, so that way we're not like competing with it. Yeah, we'll just compute, so we'll just do F8, and I'm just going to call this a panel graphic, and I'm just going to switch it from movie clip to graphic, because I don't need, this isn't going to be animated anyway, it's just literally going to be a you know, like just a still picture. Okay? Alright. Yay. Alright, so now it's a symbol, and that won't bother us too much. I'm going to go ahead and lock that so that it's there. And now I just need to make the general items, okay? So for the most part, you should at least have 2 layers. You're going to have 1, 2, and you're going to have one that's going to be your background, okay? And then if you have characters, I'll just name this one car, okay? If you have characters, they'll be whatever your character's name are, right? If you have like multiple things, or if you have other elements, you know, like in my example, I have like a car. So if you look at here, I have this guy, but then if I hold him down, you see there's a car that comes by. This one only has the one character. Okay, you can see when I hover over it, tears come out. And then this one has 3, so it has the baby, the guy, and the car. All right, so depending on the number of things here you're gonna put in there. So you're just gonna make a background. I'm gonna do like just the laziest background ever, and then you can kind of figure it out from there. Alright, so let's go ahead and okay, I like to use this brush tool, and I'm just going to keep the settings kind of the same. I'm going to make the brush a little bit smaller. This is where it's good if you, so for one, you can bring in your Photoshop or whatever you're doing this in. You don't have to draw it in here. I'm just drawing it in here for the purposes of keeping it all in here. But let me just see. 3 is actually a little bit small. Okay, so we'll just say that's good. I'm going to Control plus. And I'm just going to draw, let's say grass, right? And then we'll draw a tree kind of a thing. Alright, so imagine this is a nice looking tree. Just, if you don't look directly at it, maybe you'll be fooled, I don't know. Okay, let's just say that's a tree. Yeah, great. And then you need, okay, so that looks like junk. So, I don't know. We'll call that a background. Maybe we'll do a cloud or something. Something like that. Okay, it doesn't look good, but you get the idea. Alright, so now I did that for the background. Now, what I can do is I can start painting it. Now, if I try to paint this, what you're going to notice is it's not going to work. Because if I turn this off, just so you can see, these are just lines floating in. So there's nothing, it's not able to close. So if I try to paint this, let me if I try to paint this thing, oh, you know what? They're not going to work for another reason too. I forgot about that. So if you look again, it draws lines. These are all in object mode, so I got to do the same thing I did before. I'm just going to click and drag over the whole thing and hit Control B to break apart. All right. Now if I go to paint here, again, it still won't work, but if I paint in here, you're not going to be able to tell. Hang on, let me just... there you go. Because they are closed, or at least closed enough, it can fill in those. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm just going to draw again another box here and just make sure it intersects with all the parts. And I'm going to turn this visibility back on. So I'm going to make it roughly, basically the same size as this. Make sure my fill is none again. And I'm just going to draw basically where that other box is. If you got to do it one way or the other, make it a little bit bigger, not smaller. Okay. So come on, come down a little. There you go. All right. And B, and once again, I'm just going to take it, hit Control B to break apart. All right. Just so that now everything exists in the same planes and so on and so forth. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to, now there's a bunch of colors in here, but if you want to do a custom one, just click on here and the color wheel will pop up. And you can choose, you know, your colors, something like that. And then K for the paint here. Now, if I do, by default, it's on don't close gaps. Oh, that worked. Okay. But you might find that you have gaps in some places. So like right here, see how it leaked right there? That's obviously not beneficial, right? And if I click in here, again, it leaked because there's a bunch of holes, right, that it can go through. So what we got to do is change this to, I usually just go with medium, because I find that if you do large gaps, it starts to like not work so well. So we'll do that and see, filled nicely. This, and you can see some gaps there. So we'll skip that for now. Okay. Yeah, a lot of that's not going to work. All right, so I'm going to get in here, and in order to fill those gaps, I can either do V and grab this and pull it up so that these do intersect. All right, you can do that, or you can just use the brush, like the regular brush, not the one I was using before, the not the paint brush, but just the brush. And I can use this and just do this too. When you do the settings on the bottom here, you'll see paint normal. What'll happen is, watch, it'll actually paint over top of this stuff. If you do paint fills, that will try to, almost like you're using the bucket, it'll do it like that. We're going to use this paint behind. And so what this does is, watch, as I paint, just do a big, it'll paint behind. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it just took a second. See, it paints behind it, which is perfect. So I'm just going to use this here, and we're just going to basically close all these, because it might be your aesthetic that you actually want it to look like that, you know, like have these big gaps. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm just going to end that one. All right, and then I'm going to go hit K back for the paint bucket tool, and then crap, didn't quite get that one. I didn't see this here. Okay, good. And B is just the brush tool. Oh, okay, got that gap. All right, and we need to do this one. All right, Control minus minus, and then I just need to do the tree here. So I'm just gonna do a quick brown. Okay. And again, now I might be able to just get away with, let's try doing close large gap. See, close large gap was good enough to get that done. You see I have this extra little nublet here, so I'm just going to click on that line and hit delete, and that's gone. Now we got to do the sky, so click on this, and that's way too much. Everything's way too saturated there. So let's do that, and paint, and then this is white, so we'll just leave that. All right, and this. Okay, yay. All right, so that's our background. Now what I would suggest, again, is to take this whole thing, grabbing the regular select tool with V, and I'm going to turn off the panel so that's not bothering me. Grab the whole thing, like so, and then I'm just going to hit F8 to make it into a symbol, and we'll, I don't think I'm going to add any animation to this, but if you're going to have the tree move and stuff, you'd have to like go underneath it and add, you know what, actually let's do that. I'm going to do a movie clip, and we're going to call this just background 01, because it's the number 1 background, okay? And now that's a symbol, so that's good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the character. So I'm going to lock that again, so I don't worry about dealing with that. And then I'm going to zoom in, Control++. Oops, that's too many. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my paintbrush tool, and I'm just going to draw something. I don't know. We'll do like a raccoon or something. Well, I'll do a raccoon, but I'm not going to color. I'm just going to color it all in gray. All right, so we'll just say he's ugly. All right. I don't think it looks like a raccoon. All right, but and we'll just do this and okay. All right. Imagine he didn't look terrible. Okay, and I'm just going to paint him generally this gray color. And okay. Oh, we got to convert him. So I got to take the thing because it's an object mode. Control B or Command B if you're on a Mac. And okay, so I did a pretty bad job of drawing, so I got to basically connect all these lines so that it's possible. I'm just going to go ahead and fill that nose in. This thing's pretty bad. Hit K again for the paint bucket. Okay. Alright, that doesn't even look like one. Let's at least give him some eyes. It's bothering me. Okay. And again, I'm just going to take that Control B because those are new lines. Alright, so I'm just going to take this whole thing, and again, I'm going to convert it to another symbol. So, now what I'm going to do is whatever thing that you're going to click on, you have to make into a button, right? So he's actually going to be a button. I'm going to animate him, but I'm actually going to have him be a button so that when you click on him, that's when he animates, we're going to say. Alright? So, again, I'm going to hit F8, or you just go to Modify, Convert to Symbol. And we're actually going to do a button this time, because this is going to be a clickable item. And I'm just going to call this raccoon underscore BTN, alright, for button. That way I know what it is. Alright. Okay, so now we got that, and we got all of our main sections. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this real quick. We should have been saving as we're going along anyway. And I'm just going to call it, I don't know, crappy raccoon. I don't even know if I'm spelling that right. Okay, crappy raccoon. Alright, he's Rocket Raccoon's friend. Alright, so actually I'm going to do the background here real quick. I'm going to turn him off. And I'm going to grab the background. And I'm just going to make this tree sway back and forth so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go to this. Now, if you look in here, all of this is actually still one big piece, right? So I could manually draw each one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this tree out of this, and I'm going to make it like a separate symbol that I can animate, all right? So to do that, I'm going to double-click on this part here. I'm holding Shift and double-clicking, 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 and I think I got that part there. Okay, so make sure I didn't grab anything but it. So I have just the tree part, and I'm just going to go ahead and hit F8, and we're going to go ahead and make it a movie clip, and I'm just going to call it tree background 01. Alright, so that way I know it's in the first thing. Alright, good. So now it's a symbol. Now, what I need to do is I need to put that on a different layer, so I make a new layer. I'm going to take this, and I'm going to Control X, and I have my second layer up here, so I'm going to call this one background again, because that kind of is the background. And then this one I'm going to call tree. Okay. And if I Control V, there's my tree. I'm going to put it over there for right now. I just need to fill all this in so that it looks good, or it's acceptable. So I'm just going to draw a line here. Alright, and we need to draw a line here. Do a better job, obviously. I'm going to hit I for the eyedropper. And then I'm going to go ahead and I need to actually do this too. Whoops. Oops, not that. I'm going to click and drag across from here and just do modify, break apart, so that those are, again, the regular flavor and not that weird thing. Okay, so now back to K. And I'm going to click in there, and that paints that. That's fine. And didn't really do a good job there. So I'm going to hit I, sample this. Alright, so I is eyedropper, which is right here. And then I'm going to do B. Click here, draw across, and then B for brush, and then, oh, suck. Okay, we'll just do it all with the brush. I ain't got to deal with it. Make this really big. Come on, get bigger. Alright, we'll just, and I'm just going to paint this all in. Beautiful. Alright. Oh, you know why? Because it's on paint behind. So we're going to do paint normal. Because it's already painted, it can't paint behind. This will actually paint over. Okay. Put this back on paint behind it. Oops, not that. I find that I need paint behind the most. Okay, good. So now I got that, and this is just going to be one animated component. Okay, so all I'm going to do is, so 1 second, 2 second, 3 second, 4 second, 5 second, right? So I'm going to have this take, let's say, 4 seconds. So it takes 2 seconds to go one way and then 2 seconds back. So I'm just going to go to where it's 4 seconds, all right? And I'm going to right-click and do Insert Frame, okay? It's also, I think, F5. All right, and we're going to do the same thing here. This time I'll just hit F5, and that just inserts frame. Okay, so now this lasts this long. I'm going to go to this one, though, the one with the tree. I want to animate. So I'm going to right-click over this span and go create motion tween. And hang on a second. Let me just... You're already a symbol. I don't understand why you're asking for that. But we're going to put this down here. That's the pivot point. So let's try this again. Create motion tween. Multiple objects are selected. Alright, cancel. Okay. There's an extra, that line from behind was there that was drawn across. So it was thinking there was more than just that. So let's try it now. Create motion tween. There it goes. That's weird. Alright, I'm just going to delete this. I'm not sure what happened there. We're going to rename this tree again. Alright. So now you'll see that it's blue. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to 2 here. Actually, we're going to go to 4 because I want it to end up here again. And I'm just going to right-click. Click at the very end. You got to be very careful. So it's only this, not the whole thing being highlighted. Oops. Not like, it's real easy to accidentally do the whole thing. So you want to go to the very end, just the one, then right-click. And we're going to do insert keyframe and all. So that's just going to make a keyframe that's the same as the first one. And I'm going to go to 2. And all I'm going to do is, I'm just going to go like this. We're just going to, oops, hang on a second. So if you look, when it rotates and stuff, it rotates from that center pivot. So what I want to do is I want to take this pivot and I want to put it right at the base of it. Right about here. Okay, now let's go 2. These all the same? Okay, good. I'm going to go 2, and I'm just going to take this and go this way. Alright, and now what you're going to see is it goes like this. And if I were to hit enter, it'll play the animation, and it's going to go back and forth, alright? So that looks like a thing that happened. Okay. Escape. Stop! There it goes. Okay. So it looks pretty good. I'll put this back on, and now we've got that moving. And if you wanted, you could do the clouds moving across, you know what I'm saying? But you could take the whole thing apart and do more to it. But you get the basic idea of how to just create a normal, basic animation. Alright? And I would clean this up. Like, this is kind of ugly, and I would have done a little bit nicer. But you get the idea. Alright. So that's the background. Now, you'll notice that that background is nested, right? So you see, that's this thing. I double-click on this. Now I'm in background, and then this has multiple components, right? It's got this, and then it's just got this drawing. So the background, this part is here, and this drawing's there. So you can see, that's where we're at right now. Now I can go back to panel 2. And these are here, okay? So I got the panel that should be on the very top, actually. Let's put that up here. And then, there we go. Okay. Got my panel, and then I got my character, and I got my background. So I'm happy with the background. I'm going to go ahead and lock that. I'm going to unlock the character. I'm going to select him, and he's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to double-click on him to go into his layer, and you see it says Raccoon Button. And you'll see we don't have a timeline. We have an up, over, down, and hit. So, up means when you're hovering over it, what does it do? Right? Or I'm sorry, up means when it's just there. No, you're not interacting with it at all, so it hasn't been hit. Over is when you're hovering over it, and then down is when you push down on it. And that's basically it. Hit is what executes when you click. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So right now I got this, and he's actually the drawing right here. So on up, what we're going to do is I'm going to leave it like that. I don't need to do anything beyond it. On over, I'm going to go ahead and hit F6, which makes a new key. It'll duplicate the previous frame and make a key of it. So you see we have this right here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, I'm going to convert it to an animation symbol. Alright, so I'm going to hit F8, and I'm going to go movie clip, and we're going to do Raccoon underscore anim over. So on over, this is what it's going to do. Now, I'm going to double click on this, and this is the animation that's going to play. So if I back up, and I do that by, so if you double click on an object, it goes into it. If you double click outside the object, it backs up one. So on over, it's going to play whatever's inside of this. So in this case, I'm on over, right? So I'm just going to have it move a little. So I'm just going to go to here. I'll hit F5, right? Or you right click and do insert frame. Then afterwards, I'm going to right click on this and do create motion tween. Oh, it wants to convert. Okay, yeah. Create motion tween. I'm just going to let it automatically do it. Hit OK. It's going to automatically make one. And it's going to just call it symbol, which isn't a good name. So I'm going to rename it here. We'll just call it raccoon. It's going to name it raccoon. Okay. All right. So it has to be a symbol in order for you to animate. So I'm going to, we did that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to, again, because I want it to loop, I'm going to go here. And I'm going to insert keyframe on all, and then I'm just going to go to 5, and I'm just going to have it go up like he's jumping or something. Okay? So if you look at it, it goes up and down. Yay! Now I'm going to back up. I'll just click up here to show you can do it this way too. So on up, it's not going to do anything. Over, it does this. And then down, I'm going to hit, I'm going to create a blank keyframe. Okay? And then what we're going to do is, I just need to make something. So I'm going to take this. So I'm just drawing just something. I just did a square here. I'm going to hit Control B to break apart. Now I'm going to select it and hit F8 to make a new symbol. And we're just going to call this raccoon underscore anim. And this is on down. Okay? Alright, now I'll double click on it and we're in this thing. I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to take that raccoon that we had earlier and drop her in here. And we are going to have this, when you click on it, I'm going to say it runs away. So we're going to have it take 1 second. And I'm just going to insert frame and right click and create motion tween. And then right at the very end, because we're not doing a loop this time, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to hold shift and move it across. And move it out of frame. So now you'll see that when you click, it'll go off screen. And I'll back it up, and there you go. Alright, so now I'm going to back this thing all the way up. And we're going to save this, Control S, and then we're going to hit Control Enter. If you hit Enter, it will do nothing. It'll play like the frames, but it won't execute any of the interactive components. If you hit Control Enter, it basically exports it into whatever your settings are. So I'm going to Control Enter, and okay, so you can see, sometimes it gets a little jumbled. I'm not 100% sure. I think it has something to do with using the brush to clean up things, so I need to fix that. But if I hover over it, right, and then if I click and hold, it runs away. But it keeps playing that animation. We got to set some of this up, but we're just getting the base things in there, and then we're going to have to code it. But for right now, these are just the basic things. So you hover over, and you can see we've made a basic kind of motion graphic thing. Yeah, so that should be good enough. You can make it much more advanced. You can do frame by frame animation. Let me see, do I have let me open up like the one I did here. So, open recent, and I can show you what I'm talking about. So, mine's set up a little bit different, but like this one, if you remember from the example here, when you hover over it, when I click on it, that's a frame by frame. I'm drawing every one of those. Kind of. I'll show you in a second. So if I go into this one, and let's keep going until I get to him. Let me click on timeline search stream. Okay, so that is when you hit down, so there. And what you'll see is I just make a new frame each time. And so each one of these is like a different, this frame looks like this, and this one looks like this. All I did is I just go to the end, I hit F6 to basically duplicate the last frame, right? And then here I just did things where I took it and I just kind of like went like this, and then I would take this, oops, back this thing up, with this, and then I just would pull this, because his arm's just a line. And that's basically how I did it. And then I would just do the next one, hit F6, Okay, and again, do kind of the same thing. Make sure I got all this. I'm using the free transform here. Control click. I'm just gonna make it a little bit down, right? And then I'm just gonna use the regular select and pull his arm up, and that's basically how it works. Okay, that's all that I did. So I did it frame by frame. I didn't do a motion tween or a classic tween, which we'll cover that later. But all right, so yeah, this, and I don't want to save. Okay, so that should be good enough. You want to basically do this for each panel. Okay, so what I would suggest is have a background, one button element, and then animations attached to therein in some way. All right, that should hopefully help.